Mr. Brown, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you.
Some of your characters sometimes speak Czech. Have you learned any Czech words yet?
I have tried very, very hard. You have a very difficult language. Fortunately, I have a superb Czech publisher and editor who helps me with the Czech in the book.
So, do you know anything?
I can say ahoy.
Ahoy.
I can say děkuji. I hope that's correct.
Yeah, děkuji.
And there's a bunch of food that I can order, but your various pastries are pretty impressive.
What would be your order?
My order, boy, this is going to be embarrassing because I can't remember. Your words are so hard to pronounce. I've forgotten them all. I just point and say, that looks very good.
Okay, okay. It's basically a love letter to Prague. You have said about your latest book, The Secret of Secrets. What time do you remember you were thinking about writing this book?
Well, I was here in the early 90s as just a student, and I remember thinking Prague was absolutely beautiful. I was not a writer at that time, but I came back on book tour for Inferno and saw Prague in a new light. And after I wrote The Lost Symbol, that had a character in it that was studying consciousness, I started thinking my next book will have to be in Prague. I love using location as a character, and for Robert Langdon, Prague is just perfect.
Right. The official release book of the book was September 9th, 2025, which means the date has 3 9s in them. Was it intentional at all?
What do you imagine? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Everything in my books is a code, everything is a symbol, everything has meaning, and it's up to the readers to figure out what all the 9s mean.
Great. This time we've taken a deep dive into human mind and consciousness. What would you say it was the hardest part about writing about this challenging topic?
Sure, well, you're right. It's a very challenging topic. And the consciousness study is ethereal, it's ephemeral, it's not solid. Scientists can't even decide on a definition for consciousness. So to make a hard-paced factual thriller about something this ethereal was very difficult. It took me a long time to do. The hardest part was really understanding all of the science to the point that I could write the novel in a way that anyone could understand the science.
Four Seasons Hotel, Black Angel's Bar, even this building, Clementine, all of the buildings are mentioned in your book. How did you get to know all those places that well?
Well, I visited Prague many, many times and explored, and that's part of what I like to do, is explore beautiful locations and interesting locations. The Baroque Library, Borges said it was the most beautiful library on earth. I thought I should probably see that, and I agree with him. And I wanted to set a number of scenes in that room, which I've done. The Four Seasons Hotel is right on the river with a beautiful view of Charles Bridge, which plays a role in the book. So all of these things bring life to the story, and I hope readers who read it have a better sense of this beautiful city.
Did you have a tour guide while you were visiting Prague?
I did not have tour guides. I had my editor, Peter Onifer, who's a very good friend and knows Prague perfectly, and he took me to all the places, because usually I like to see things that most tourists don't like to see.
My favorite is Folimanka Shelter. Did you know when you see it, yeah, this is gonna be in the book?
When I first went in, I did not know, and as soon as I saw it, I thought, yes, this absolutely has to be in the book.
And how many times have you visited Prague while writing the book?
I think while writing the book, it was 4 times for various weeks at a time. So yeah, I was here quite a bit.
Now imagine you are here in Prague and you have the whole day for yourself. No tasks, no deadline, nobody wants anything from you.
I can't imagine that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah,
I would love that.
It is amazing. What would you do? Where would you go?
I would probably first go to the dripstone wall in Waldenstein Gardens and sit and admire that wall for a while. If I'm feeling really brave, I might go to the top of Petrin Tower, which I find very scary, especially the elevator. And after that, I would probably just walk Charles Bridge at sunset.
Would you go to any bar or pub?
Well, I have a strong place in my heart for Black Angel's Bar, only because it's so interesting and beautiful. It's a grotto. It looks like it's out of a different time, a different century. And everyone down there is so nice, and they make a great last word.
Have you tried Czech beer?
I don't drink beer. However, I will tell you that 2 nights ago, somebody gave me a Czech Pilsner, and I had to admit, I only had a few sips. It was fantastic. I didn't even know I liked beer. Every time I try beer, I don't like it, but this I actually really liked.
This is the magic of Czech beer.
Maybe I'll become a beer lover, who knows?
I've heard you play piano. You even have it here in Four Seasons Hotel. And you said music helps you with crafting stories, in your words. Music is about tension and release, structure, pacing, give a listener what she or he wants in a way they don't see it coming. Do you think it's the same with writing a book?
Writing music and writing books are very, very similar. You can't write a piece of music if you don't understand structure and form. And it's the same with a novel. You have to understand the structure and the form. You have to understand tension and release in both music and writing thrillers. And you have to understand thematic material. If you're listening to a piece of music, there are melodies that are themes that rise and fall. And in a novel, there are themes that rise and fall at just the right moment. You also have to understand dynamics. You can't play piano incredibly loudly for 20 minutes. You need the quiet parts to make the loud parts feel strong. And you can't write 3 car chases in a row. You need the quiet moments to make the action stand out.
Can you imagine yourself being a musician again?
You know, it's funny, I play music every day, so I think of myself as a musician, but not a professional musician. I suppose it's possible, but I'm not going to quit my day job, don't worry. You won't have to listen to me sing. I will always be a writer.
How many days per day you spend doing something creative? Since you play music and write a lot, so how many time you spend just doing something else?
You know, it's funny, I grew up, my parents had no television. So we grew up playing music, reading books, doing puzzles, and so I'm very, very familiar with that. And I spend about 8 hours a day writing, and I get some exercise, I do some business in the afternoon. I would say that 3 or 4 hours a day, I'm doing something I love, and it's usually visiting with friends. They'll come over and we'll make dinner and sit around the fire and just enjoy dinner. That's my favorite thing to do.
I read you wake up every day at 4 a.m., is it correct?
That is correct.
Right, and right after that you are starting writing?
Yes. The human mind, right before you wake up, you're usually dreaming, and that is the human mind creating something out of nothing. Your imagination is in overdrive, and I think that it's important to get to your desk as quickly as possible, because that's what writing is. You're creating something out of nothing, and so I like to harness that mindset and start writing.
Every chapter does have a cliffhanger, which makes the book so hard to put down. Do you think a lot about your book in advance, before you even start writing?
Yes. I have a complex outline before I start writing. That outline may change slightly, but for the most part it stays the same. It's very, very important with this kind of book to know what the twist is, to know where you're going. So yes, I have a very intricate outline before I start writing.
How much? How specific is it? Do you know in advance how many chapters are there going to be? How many plots?
You don't know that, because it's sort of like building a house. That you would build a foundation out of cement, and that doesn't really change. But as the house goes up, you may say, oh, this wall should not be that tall, or this room was going to be blue, but now it's going to be yellow. That sort of thing. So the changes are fairly small as you work through a book. I have no idea how many chapters it will be. This book was a little bit longer than I anticipated, but it was a whole lot of fun to write.
Do you consult the plot, the theme with your editor, or you just write the basics just like for yourself and then introduce to someone else?
A little bit of both, but usually I've spoken to my editor at length before I start writing. These books take a long time, and I would hate to spend a year writing, you know, the opening quarter of the book and then say, what do you think? And have them go like, ooh, I wouldn't write about that. So usually we figure that out first.
And do you talk about the theme with your family? Like you wake up and you say, no.
I keep everything very, very secret. It's my editor and myself are really the only people who know what I'm writing about.
So your family doesn't know 6 years what you're writing about?
Not specifically, no. Maybe in general I'd say, oh, I'm writing about human consciousness, you know, which doesn't tell them much.
What did you discover about human mind and consciousness?
Well, that consciousness is much different than we think it is. We have this feeling that all of our hopes and dreams and fears are the product of chemical processes in our brain, that our brain creates our consciousness, and actually something much more interesting turns out to be happening, and that's what this book is about.
What do you think happens after that? Does this thinking changes after you're writing this book?
Yes, if you would ask me 8 years ago, is there life after death? I would say no. When you die, it's the end, full stop. It's like a computer whose cable has been cut and there's nothing happening. Now, 8 years later, having talked to many, many scientists, people who've had near-death experiences, noetic scientists, physicists, thanatologists, all sorts of people, and having looked very, very carefully at the science that is happening right now in this field, I've come out with a personal belief that human consciousness on some level does transcend death, does live on.
What are your sources? Do you speak to people a lot, or do you study books, or like how does it look like on an everyday basis?
First you have to read. You have to read such that you even know what questions to ask, and also such that you know enough that when a specialist answers the question, you have some idea what they're talking about. These are people who've spent their life studying these fields. So I would, in case of this book, I read for maybe a year and a half on consciousness. Just read and read and read and read, and then started having conversations with scientists.
You've described it, Robert Langdon, your main character, as sort of alter ego. What do you have in common, and in what ways are different?
Well, we certainly share a love of history, of learning, of symbols, codes, architecture, art, all of that. We're different in that his life is much more interesting than my life. He spends his days running around in Prague, looking at amazing things, and I spend my life alone at a computer. So he has a much more interesting life than I do.
Who do you think is smarter?
Robert Langdon is definitely smarter. And somebody said once, well, that's impossible because everything he says you have to think of. And I have to explain that when Robert Langdon thinks of something instantly that's very smart to say, that took me 3 days to research and to think of.
Do you see him evolving over time while writing the book?
I do, actually. He evolves because I evolve. I mean, he is the man I wish I could be. I see the world through Robert Langdon's eyes. He's skeptical, but he's also curious and willing to admit when he's wrong. And that is something that I've sort of seen in this book, that he is he's admitting that he's wrong about human consciousness, and he's sort of coming to this other belief.
How was he in your first book?
He was the same, but much more, he's somebody who can argue both sides of an equation. He's very open-minded, and he knows a lot. He'll say, this is what I believe, but there are people over here who believe something totally different, and this is what they believe. And so what makes it interesting as a reader is that you get to hear both sides of the argument and make up your mind yourself.
Robert Langdon, he runs every day across Charles Bridge. Have you tried this morning routine as well? I
was on Charles Bridge this morning at 6:30 a.m. And even at that hour, there were some people on the bridge, but not too many. It was just this beautiful morning. I did not run across Charles Bridge the way Langdon does. Maybe tomorrow, but probably not.
Do you run?
You know what? I do, but it's usually on a treadmill while I'm reading something. That's right. Multitasking, working and exercising at the same time.
Yeah, we live in productivity lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right. A big American streaming platform has already bought the rights to turn this book into a TV show. Do you know about filming locations yet?
Well, we will absolutely be filming here in Prague. It is a spectacularly beautiful city, and we've been welcomed, by everybody here, by the government, by the city, to film here. And of course, we'll use the locations in the novel. We'll film at the Dripstone Wall and at Petrin Tower, and I hope here in this very building in the Baroque Library. We'll see. I hope so. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be back next year with the whole film crew, and I'll be here watching them make this TV show.
Has the filming been set yet?
No, we have started writing, and I've read the first 3 episodes, and they're so good. They're really, really exciting, really fun.
Are you involved a lot?
Yes, in the script part, I'm involved, but after that, it's really somebody else's specialty. And I just watch. I don't tell people how to make TV shows. I don't know. So if I see something I really don't like, I'll say something. But so far, everything I'm seeing is really exciting and really good. Yeah, I think Prague is going to be beautiful on television. They're really pulling out all the stops, as we say in English, to make it perfect.
Right. Why did you choose TV show instead of movie?
You know, I mean, working with Tom Hanks and Ron Howard was such a privilege, such a pleasure. And we had a great time making those movies. One of the challenges that these filmmakers had making those movies is taking a really complicated book, like the Da Vinci Code, and turning it into 2 hours of entertainment. What is exciting about the Netflix show is that we are going to make an 8-hour movie. There will be 8 episodes of television to tell this story, such that we can sort of expand and tell the whole story, which is really, really fun.
Have you gotten any information who would be playing the Robert Langdon?
If I knew, I would tell you. That decision has not been made, but I'm sure we'll announce it soon.
Is there a slight chance it will be Tom Hanks?
I don't think so. I think for a number of reasons, Netflix is hoping the series is successful and that they can make other Langdon series after that. They'll go and make Origin or whatever the next book I write. So they want to get somebody fairly young, maybe in his 30s, such that the actor can grow through many years of television.
What do you wish a reader would take away from The Secret of Secrets?
Well, I would hope that a reader would take away a really fun reading experience first, but also a curiosity about human consciousness and about Prague. You know, I've already talked to friends of mine in the United States who've read the book, and they say, we're going to Prague next year. I absolutely have to see this place. It sounds beautiful. It sounds so interesting. So that makes me happy. And also people who say, I'm fascinated now by human consciousness, and I'm going to read everything there is on the topic. So both of those things make me very happy.
Did you know from the past week or so which nationality loves the Prague the most since releasing the book?
Which nation likes to brag the most?
Right, if it's like United States, Spain, French.
Well, I mean, Prague is, you know, here we are, and I know, I've just heard that the reception has, I can't read the Czech newspapers, but I've heard the reception is very, very warm. And you know, I've never had breakfast with a president before, and so you know, I had this wonderful breakfast with your president. He's such a kind man, very, very intelligent and gentle, and also very, very strong at the same time. It was very interesting, and I was honored to meet him.
Mr. Brown, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.